Welcome to the Explainer. When it comes to diet advice, it feels like we're all swimming in a sea of confusion. Well, today we're going to cut through all that noise by looking at a framework that's thousands of years old, but surprisingly simple, the Yogic Diet. We're going to distill its wisdom to see if we can find some clarity. I mean, let's be real for a second. We are just bombarded with advice, right? Keto, paleo, vegan, intermittent fasting. It's a total minefield, and frankly, it's exhausting. But what if the answer isn't some new, complicated set of rules? What if there's a much simpler, more intuitive way that's been working for centuries? And that right there is where yogic philosophy steps in. It gives us a really clear, holistic way of looking at food that goes way beyond just counting calories. It's a framework that sees food as a core pillar of our physical, our mental, and even our spiritual health. Okay, so the first thing you've got to get is this. In yoga, your diet isn't some optional extra. It's not an accessory. It's absolutely foundational. Ancient yogis knew that what you put in your body directly shapes your energy, your mood, and your ability to focus. And not just on the yoga mat, but in, your entire life. So, let's dive into what is maybe the single most important principle we find in pretty much every yogic text. This idea is the absolute bedrock of the entire yogic approach to eating. The concept is called mitahara. Now, let's be clear, this is not about starving yourself or some kind of harsh restriction, not at all. It's about conscious moderation. It means you eat to satisfy your hunger, not to stuff yourself until you can't move. The goal here is to feel light and energetic, not heavy and sleepy in a food coma. So how much is moderate? Well, what's fascinating is that the ancient texts actually give us some pretty clear guidelines. The Hatha Yoga Pradipika says, hey, fill your stomach about 3/4 of the way. The Garanta Samhita gets even more specific. Fill half with food, 1/4 with water, and leave that last quarter totally empty for air to move around. So see, the exact numbers are a little different, but the core idea is exactly the same. Always leave some space. Never, ever eat until you're 100% full. But yoga takes this a giant leap further. It's not just about how much food you eat, it's also about how different kinds of food actually affect your mind and your energy levels. And this is where things get really, really interesting. So the texts basically split all food into two camps. First, you've got pathya. This is the good stuff. Wholesome, easy to digest food that works with your body. Think fresh, clean, simple things. And on the flip side, you've got apathya. This is the stuff that's hard to digest and just disrupts your whole system. Food that kind of fights you every step of the way and leaves you feeling heavy and sluggish. And this all boils down to one incredibly powerful idea, captured in this quote, "As is the food, so is the mind." Just think about that for a second. This concept is so central that the Bhagavad Gita breaks it down even further, classifying food into 3 distinct energetic qualities, or gunas, based on how they directly impact how we think and feel. First up, we have sattvic foods. These are the absolute gold standard in the yogic diet. Think fresh fruits, veggies, whole grains, food that is juicy, alive, and naturally delicious. The idea is that eating these foods helps create a calm, clear, and peaceful mind. That ideal state you're in when you feel totally focused and balanced? Then we've got rajasic foods. These are the stimulants. We're talking about things like coffee, hot peppers, and super salty or spicy dishes. Yeah, they might give you a quick jolt of energy, but the texts say that what they really create is agitation, restlessness, that scattered monkey mind feeling. And finally, there's the tamasic category. This is, it's the heavy stuff. This is any food that's stale, leftover, heavily processed, or just overcooked. These foods are seen as literally draining your energy, leading to dullness, brain fog, and just feeling weighed down and blah. Okay, so that's a lot of theory, right? We've got moderation, we've got these 3 types of food, but how do you actually use this stuff in your daily life? Well, the good news is this entire philosophy gets boiled down into 4 simple, really powerful keys. So let's run through them. First, the why. You eat to nourish your body and give it strength. Simple. Second, the what. You stick to those fresh, sattvic foods as much as you possibly can. Third, the when, and this is a big one, you only when you feel real, genuine hunger, not just because the clock says it's lunchtime. And then there's the 4th key, the how. And honestly, this one might just be the biggest game changer of all. So we've come down this whole funnel, from the big picture philosophy right to the nitty-gritty. And now we're at the very tip of the pyramid, the one single actionable habit that could make the biggest difference of all. It all comes down to a number. So what is this big secret? Well, it's not some complicated formula or an expensive supplement. It's just a number, 32. That's it. The wisdom is to chew every single bite of your food 32 times. And the logic behind it is just, it's brilliant. Think about it. You have 32 teeth. They're like little rocks, right? They are designed to do the heavy lifting of breaking down food. Your stomach and your intestines, on the other hand, are super soft. They aren't meant for grinding up big chunks. When you chew thoroughly, you're basically pre-digesting the food in your mouth, which takes all the pressure off your gut. We're talking less bloating, less indigestion, and according to these texts, preventing constipation is the key to preventing pretty much all disease. And that really just leaves us with this one final question to chew on. No pun intended. We spend so much time, energy, and money obsessing over the perfect superfood or the latest diet trend. But what if the biggest secret to better health isn't about what you're buying, but about how you're eating what you already have? It's something that costs absolutely nothing, and it's a change you can make, literally, with your very next bite.